Hey everyone, Ryzen here. I'm a software developer with over 9 years of experience, and in this video I want to share with you my AI harness that I use every day for developing various projects. And you can take stuff from here and apply it to either your cursor configuration, or it will also work on Cloud Code or Codex. Maybe you will adjust a few things, or you can just take principles from here and apply it to any AI development workflow you have. You can find all this stuff on GitHub. Let's jump right into it with the most important piece in this configuration, the quality gate skill. The idea behind the skill is to make AI produce the highest quality work possible by doing lots of checks before submitting their answer and reporting the work as done. Of course, it will take more time without quality gates, but you'll likely get worse output. And the idea behind this whole setup is to enable you to work less by giving AI more work to do. And how I usually work with this stuff is that I have two laptops, and this cursor config is just a folder. And when I run soon command, it just copies all this stuff, all these agents, hooks, rules, skills into your user level.cursor folder. That way I can work on two laptops, let it run for a long time, and that's totally fine. Let it work, let it check itself, and it will be better off for you. You just need to get comfortable with giving it time, do other stuff while it's working. Quality gates is a skill rather than being an always applied rule, just because cursor oftentimes skips always applied rules. They've just been ignored by AI model. So typing yourself quality gates as a part of the first prompt works the best. Here we have 4 steps, and at the end your AI agent has to report that they've accomplished all the steps and that everything is passing or sometimes failing, and you can double check on that stuff. The first step is to have tests that actually make sense, that check logic, make sure that our system is robust. Again, with tests, we increase quality. It will take time to write tests, but for maintenance and just high quality, they always make sense. Second is project checks. So for TypeScript is type check, lint, and also very important tools for detecting dead code like knip, because AI will produce lots of code that is oftentimes unused. And to maintain the stuff, with this tool, you can easily detect unused dependencies, unused code, and you won't even think about it. It will be always deleted, and you won't have lots of context waste by having unused code in your codebase. Third one is code review. We run code review before QA because you might know it from your experience. When you submit a pull request, then somebody writes a comment, you address it, you refactor something, you improve something, but then it breaks something and you need to check again. So it makes sense to actually run code review before you do your QA checks. And after addressing code review, making sure everything robust, all good, we go into QA step, which is the most tricky and the most important. As a developer, you would not just submit your work after checking the code and writing tests. You have to actually test and check if it actually works, right? For us front-end developers, it's opening the browser and trying the feature. You can just submit the work is done if you haven't checked it. And the same should apply to AI as well. They have to go and use a browser or whatever environment they need and check that it works perfectly. So that's the idea of this QA skill. You will need to develop tools in order to make it happen, and later we'll look more into it. But for basic stuff, you most likely won't need anything specific. There are 3 types of environments that I highlight, which is cursor browser, and that's choice number 1. Mostly for everything, I'm using cursor browser. It works perfectly. The situation where you might need a real browser and using stuff like Playwright to work with it is when you need, for example, browser extension, which won't be available in cursor browser. And for me, being a Web3 developer, it is sometimes the case. For example, if you need to connect a wallet extension like MetaMask, you cannot do it in cursor environments. That's why you need a real browser. And third one is CLI. If you develop in some SDK or just some backend system where you will run verification in the CLI. Do not carry the bias of the main model into code review and QA, and also to save context of the more expensive and smarter model that we have here, we have dedicated sub-agents called code reviewer and QA. For code reviewer, there are instructions of how to conduct this process, and at the end it should produce either must fix or should fix items. And on the QA side, it expects to receive an environment that we mentioned before, then it does all the testing, and it should also return screenshots when it's applicable, so that when you see the result of the work, you can also overview screenshots and verify that everything looks good. And if you need to, you can include them in your pull request. Cursor has its own model composer that is subsidized, so it's way cheaper than using the latest model from OpenAI or Anthropic. But the problem is, it's not as good as the latest GPT or Opus model. And we as professionals want to use the best stuff when we work on complex and hard tasks. That's why we always go to the best model. But if we'll use this best model all the time, we will burn through Ultra subscription on Cursor in less than a week. That's why we need something like this Orchestrate skill that we will include in our first prompt when we selected an expensive model. And this Orchestrate skill will tell this model to delegate as much work as possible to Composer 2 using different sub-agents. So it is very often that AI agent will be more successful at your current task if they will know about other code bases and implementation there. For example, if you work on the front end, it's useful to know how it's done on the back end. Or if you work on one type of client, and it might be useful to reference, for example, mobile clients that already implemented this feature for reference and stuff like that. That's why I often type Reference-codebase and then the name of the codebase. It works this way. First of all, it's generic. Again, at user level, we have this one skill and it's universal for everything. But if you want to customize something, you can create a codebases.md file, and there you can specify some known projects or specify the name of organization on GitHub, so it will be easier for AI to clone wherever is necessary. And it works in a way where if you reference something, it will pull the latest changes, so everything is up to date, and then it will just search for whatever is needed, and usually it will be again via sub-agent because we're using Orchestrate skill, so a Composer 2 model, which is cheaper, will go and find all the necessary information. Oftentimes you work on something and then you realize there's some extra work, but it doesn't really belong in the current task or in the current pull request. And to not forget about it and to provide the context you already collected about this problem, you will engage the Handoff skill that will create a local task file, either in this codebase you're working on right now, or in another codebase if the work is related. For example, your overall task affects multiple codebases. You started on one codebase, you collected all the information, all the context, and then you finish the overall task by completing this handoff task in another codebase. And at the end of the session, when the work is done, I engage the done skill. And it consists of two parts. So the first part is to runish a finish skill in the current project. So again, similar to Reference-codebase, here we have generic behavior, but the custom implementation will be in your specific project. And finish skill will do different stuff depending on your situation. If your work ends having pull requests merged, if you don't have human code review, basically your finish skill will make it happen. If your work involves also updating the status of your task in your ticket tracking system like Jira or Linear, that's responsibility of your finish skill. So sub-agents get to finish the work whatever it takes. If there are some code reviews, it will fix it. If there are merge conflicts, it should fix it. So you shouldn't worry about your pull request, it should just be done. That's the part number one, and it is the most important part. The part number two is to reflect on what was happening during this session, and using our handoff skill, create a task for potential improvements. It could be refactoring of the code, or it could be improvements in our overall AI infrastructure, like we have here with skills and stuff like that. And that way, every time you finish your work, you always engage the same skill, so it's easier for you to remember, and it's the same format for each project. You create finished skill that has instructions of how to wrap up the current work. And skills are in a way similar to code. You want to reuse stuff, and you building on top of existing building blocks. And even our fix CI and fix PR skills that used by other skills also have some other sort of functions with resolve PR comments that instruct how to resolve PR comments. Also has a script that AI agent can run. Then we have resolve rebase conflicts with instruction how to handle that. And just sync with main if your branch is stale, how to synchronize it. So you can always find ways to abstract things and extract it into reusable pieces, and it will be similar to how your code works with reusable functions and stuff like that. Talking about PRs, there are two important pieces here: fix CI and fix PR. So fix CI is a skill that likely your finished skill in your specific project will engage, and this skill is responsible to fix all the issues that appear in the CI section. So tests are not passing, there are merge conflicts and stuff like that. All of this being resolved with this skill. And it heavily uses this one huge AI slope over script with almost 1000 lines for handling everything related to pull requests. So it has like different commands to handle different stuff. And that's where fix CI comes handful. And basically it's used only in this finish skill. And I never engage it myself. I engage a fix PR skill. So if I created a pull request, but I don't merge it immediately, if I want to open it later, what I will do is I will type this fix PR and then attach pull request, and then responsibility to get it merged. So address all the comments, resolve everything. Again, if there are merge conflicts, fix that as well, and just runs for long times. It pulls the status of pull request. You can leave it for hour or so, and it will keep working. Another set of useful skills is improve and prep improve. So when you work with this system and AI system in your specific project, sometimes you notice that something doesn't work well. That's where you can right away call improve skill and work right in the current session. But usually I won't do that because there will be too much context and AI won't be producing that high quality of a result. That's why usually I call prep improve to collect all the context of what went wrong and why. And then in the fresh session, I will work on the improve skill, I will call it, and we will improve some skill here or in a specific project. AI agents have a better perspective of how to write this AI infrastructure. So when we write a new piece of skill or rule, I usually apply review config so that AI agent from their perspective think about how to improve it so they will be more effective with it. And I oftentimes remove stuff because every skill, every rule builds up in context, and you would like to avoid unused stuff as you would do in your codebase as well, right? And what I've noticed as AI gets smarter, it needs less guidance on stuff. Maybe a year or two ago, I had a bunch of rules on how to write codes about different patterns, and now I almost don't have any of that. Because when I run review config and ask, does it still make sense to you? It's like, oh, I know this stuff, right? I know there was at some point was popular some collection of skills about web development and Next.js. And like most of it, AI agents say like, oh, it's just common sense. I know all of this stuff. I don't need skills for that. So eventually you will remove lots of stuff as AI gets smarter. When we were talking about QA, I mentioned how important it is to provide AI with tools to do stuff. And it goes beyond QA. If you want AI to achieve something, you need to make sure that AI has all the tools necessary for that. For example, in some workflows, I needed to receive emails to verify stuff. And without an ability to receive an email and read it, there's no way to verify the feature. That's why first I have to sit and develop this email QA skill that receives emails using this Milos or tool. And it's just a regular email account that works. And now I can test stuff that involves receiving emails. Second example, as I mentioned before, was involving MetaMask. So here we have a real browser skill with instructions how to use MetaMask. It's like a plugin thing here. So if it needs to use MetaMask, it can load it. Otherwise, it doesn't need it. So all we think about what tools are necessary and first invest into developing these skills so that AI will do most of the work and you can relax. We only have one hook here. It is dir-env wrap. So I use dir-env in order to have environment variables in specific directories. And AI also needs these environment variables if it needs to do actions that rely on environment variables, and there are a lot of them. So I want AI to have the same access to environment variables, and that's why we run this hook every time the new terminal session starts. In terms of rules, we have one about our cursor config, so that AI understands that if it's user level stuff, it's need to be edited here rather than in .cursor, and that .cursor being synchronized using our sync script. We talked about making AI successful by providing it with necessary tools, but sometimes there are no tools and we are the tool. And in order for us to be aware of that, we have this notify user rule so that it will talk with robotic voice when it needs us. Maybe some authorization that needs to be happen, or some QA just impossible to do without our help, and then robotic voice will freak you out and you will go and help it out.